guys, how's it going? Capricious Conch here today. Day 4 of quitting weed. Once again, I'm feeling no cravings this morning. My dreams are finally starting to come back. I had about, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 successive dreams last night, but I think it was about 4. And it was all combat based. I was trying to defend myself from people. And I've had this before, but there was a time that for sleep I was taking this supplement called St. John's wort. Well, it's not a supplement, it's an herb. St. John's wort. And I found this brought out my dreams quite viciously, let's say. So I was having a lot of bad dreams back then, and it could be something simple or something complex or something that doesn't make sense, but you would wake up in an absolute panic with your view of the universe disturbed, afraid to go back to sleep. And that's not common for me. I've never experienced fear like that in the waking world, which at first, of course, I was afraid, but eventually I came to find very interesting. Now, last night, as I said, I was defending myself from different people with various weapons. In the beginning of the dream, I was sort of not doing a very good job of it. I didn't do a very good job of it throughout the dreams, but at the beginning it seemed people were kind of coming at me with something, and then at the last second I'd kind of get and then I'd do something and it would transmogrify their weapon into something that they couldn't easily hurt me with. For example, there was a guy and he was slashing at me, jabbing at me, and then he was about to swing, and I reach up and touch his sword right on the pommel as he's about to cleave me with it, and it bursts into about 8 differently colored toothpicks, which fall onto my chest. So that's kind of strange. It's definitely one of the more interesting dreams I've experienced. Some of the other things, earlier in the dream, I dreamt that I was a writer, and I would write this story. It was very intriguing. And then there was this girl, woman, and for whatever reason, she was reading my book, or the passages, to some people, and I was standing or sitting about, I don't know, maybe 40 feet away, and they weren't really looking at me, but I was watching and I was listening to her reading this book, or reading, these passages, this chapter or whatever. It was very interesting because it was almost like a spell, because as she would read it, some of the things that were embedded within the passage sort of coalesced around her. And I was there to watch this, and then, I don't know, perhaps something about that made people want to attack me and kill me. I guess I'm some sort of magician or something in my dream. But anyway, this video is not about dreams, it's about quitting weed. So, I've recently joined this place called the Shamanic View of Mental Illness on Facebook, and I think this is a very good group. Right now, it seems that there's a low level of troll tactics going on, which is great. I guess it's somewhat undiscovered. Mostly the specific mental illness groups, or physical illness groups based on something that there's no cure for, but is allegedly very profitable. I guess the pharmaceutical trolls, which have an overabundance of money, like to pick at these particular issues and mask progress. But anyway, in the Shamanic View of Mental Illness, I was talking to some people, and the one person who's quitting weed at the same time as me right now, and he said it's his 100th time. I understand that. So he says, how do I deal with these his quitting symptoms. He said he has a loss of appetite, insomnia. You know, of course, there's the regular stress. There's cravings. And boredom, I guess. So yeah, those 5 things. As for a loss of appetite, I think we all have a little bit of extra weight on us. I don't think there's a lot of people addicted to weed that are in perfect shape. And of course, you know, you don't want to starve yourself, but our concept of what starving ourselves is probably the right amount of food that we should be eating, or at least slightly less. So yeah, if you have a few extra pounds and you're worried about not eating enough, may I ask why you're worried? Another thing we might need to consider is that when we're on weed, we tend to eat a lot of foods that might not be too rational, but that our hedonic system, the system within us that regulates what foods we're attracted to, this system is actually very overpowered by salt and sugar, especially sugar. Sugar is basically a brainwashing implement, and it really does take control of the hedonic system, and sugar, of course, does nothing for us. The refined sugar, that is. So we eat the sugar, it stimulates our cravings and our sense of pleasure, and it dulls our sense of pleasure to every other food. We can't taste the sweetness in vegetables anymore. And what it does is it does nothing for us. But it still triggers the cravings that we have because there's minerals and nutrients that we need. But because we're so attracted to this sugar, we're not getting the minerals and nutrients that we need. And because we haven't gotten them, we're still hungry. And because we're still hungry and we're surrounded by sugar, we eat more sugar. It's just a horrible, vicious cycle. I'm not going to go as far as to say that sugar should be illegal, but definitely refined sugar is a big problem. I think we would all do better with it out of our lives. Let's see, the second symptom, or withdrawal symptom rather, is insomnia. Now, you know, I'm going to touch on this because I have a problem with insomnia too. My suggestion is do everything right. You know, it's more comfortable to sleep in a made bed. I've realized this recently. It never used to make my bed. It's actually very hard for me to get comfortable. A typical pillow usually doesn't work. Something about the neck being pitched forward like this just doesn't feel natural. And I already have a lot of tension in my neck, shoulders area. So it's really not good to have your head pitched forward. Just like if you're sitting at a computer desk all day with your neck forward, you know, your spine turns like that, and then you go to stand up straight and it hurts. That's the problem my brother has. As for sleeping with insomnia or tense muscles around your neck, you really have to, like, honestly do a lot of work to figure out what works for you. And it's not going to be what you expect. A lot of the time I sleep facing down with some pillows aligned under me so that my forehead can touch the bed and my nose is touching the bed, but it's not squashed, and I have support of my shoulders on the pillows. Kind of set it up like this, kind of. And then yeah, other than that, I find there's a precise amount of support that we need, and so a blanket can be very good for this. Generally a thicker blanket, and you don't want it too crumpled. Better if it's folded, but better than folded flat in layers where the middle becomes lower than the rest of the layers because of more pressure. It's better if it's kind of folded into a curve, if that makes any sense, like kind of like a ball, but not so tight that it hurts your neck, but not so loose that it unravels or that it's not providing enough support. If I can give an example, you take your blanket, just kind of roll it up I'd say you don't want to watch screens for the last 2 hours, because it generally takes me 2 hours after I try to go to bed to get to bed. If I'm having screens on, which lately I have been because I've been researching a lot of stuff and watching a lot of videos. Anyway, you want screens off for the last 2 hours, lights off for the last hour. I like to get everything ready for myself because it reduces my subperceptual level of stress about what I'm going to have to do in the morning. In the morning, we have a lot less energy. It takes a lot more energy to do even simple tasks. So what I like to do is I like to set up a full glass of water, my full change of clothes. I like to clean my whole room, especially in the last hour of the night. I do all this because the lights are low. I have a little light like this so that you can have light in your room without it being so bright that it's keeping you awake, triggering your senses. So yeah, I just do everything right. And then I'm very relaxed because I'm like, oh, well, when I wake up in the morning, I don't have much to do. All I have to do is, take a drink of water, jump in the shower. I conveniently have some dehydrated bananas here that I can snack on in the morning. Sometimes it doesn't work if I leave fruit up in my room because it gets kind of spotted from the moisture or heat up here or whatever. And I generally am helped a little bit by the I have like an in-home air conditioner that makes kind of rumbly machine noises. I find that kind of helpful. But really, it can be really hard to get comfortable while you're trying to sleep. I know when my love's over here, the amount of room on the bed, I kind of like to sleep on a diagonal, so I could be tossing and turning for hours, disturbing her while she's trying to sleep, and it can be very difficult for me, and a lot of the time I don't get any sleep, or I get an hour or two, so it really is a process. If you're not, well, it's hard to say, if you're not afraid to take St. John's wort, then perhaps you can take it. Of course, you can't mix it with anything like an SSRI inhibitor, but I strongly discourage you to never take anything like that. And if you are taking something like that, I strongly encourage you to question whether that's really what you want to be doing and look at the symptoms of all these medications, especially the SSRIs. Got a little off track here. St. John's wort, melatonin. There's other natural things that you can take to help you with your sleep. There's all natural sleep pills that are just more generic as well, with maybe a combination of things. But find out what works for you. Obviously you're gonna have to spend a little bit of money, probably $15 a bottle or whatever for, I don't know, 60, 90 pills. But $15 for like 2 to 4 months of good sleep while you're recovering from an addiction, that's not bad. So what's the next point? We got hunger, we got insomnia. I guess let's go to cravings. What I do about my cravings, if I have any weed in the house at all, I'm screwed. It's not going to work. If I have a bong and I have money, I will bike across the city to go get weed for my cravings. So what I've done in the past, which has worked decently, I'll get to the part where it didn't work and I'm having to quit again, but it did work, was that I would just smoke the rest of my weed, and then I'd say, okay, I'm quitting. Or what I would do is I'd throw my bong into the woods or something, which I don't like to do because, it's littering. And, I would be the one to go around and pick up other people's litter, so obviously I don't want to do that. But, if you have to get rid of something, best to get rid of it once instead of getting rid of it, buying another one, getting rid of it, buying another one. It's stupid. It's a waste of money. Just recently, I didn't have a bong because my bong broke, and I was like, I'm gonna quit smoking weed. And then I went out and spent $60 on buying, weed and a bong. the best thing you can do is not have this stuff around you. You know, if you have a lot of friends that smoke weed, don't spend time with your friends. You know, we all have this inner desire to connect with people, but because we have people to connect with, we don't have anyone else to connect with. We're not pushed out of our comfort zone. And if you can push yourself out of your comfort zone, that's pretty much the thing that you have to do when you're quitting weed, or quitting anything really. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone, because addiction is your comfort zone. So, you know, so what do you do with all this time? You're not smoking weed, that's hours of your day, depending. You're not hanging out with the friends that you have that smoke weed, so what do you do? I've been watching a lot of videos, and I'm quite interested in psychedelics, so I've been watching a lot of Terence McKenna videos, and there is a lot of them. Other people that are great to watch, you know, you got Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson has some good stuff, even though he has kind of a conscientious way of looking at things. He definitely is a very knowledgeable person. There's lots of good people on YouTube. I found one person recently on YouTube who's not selling anything, and he's telling his story. I just happened to end up on his video, telling his story about how his life broke down and how he changed everything. You know, he hit rock bottom, and he realized that the energy of his depression, of his anxiety, of his fear, anger, whatever, he could use that and transmute it to give him power. And he said he was standing on the top of a building. Maybe he was contemplating jumping, I don't know. But it's ironic, because he said in a split, like tenth of a second, he had this snap realization, and he just started jumping up and down to release the energy. And he realized that this energy from his depression could be transmuted into physical energy and released that way, and that he had a lot of it. So I really like that. So we have cravings, we have hunger, we have insomnia. You know, I'm sure the other two things that I mentioned are important as well, but I can't remember them right at this moment. So, you know, I'll get back to that in the comments if, you know, anybody ever watches my video. I can just obviously look back at the video and figure out what those two things were, but I cannot do that right now. But yeah, I'm on day 4. It's going great. You know, I'm facing my fears, my dreams. It's especially important, I find, that, you know, if you're trying to quit something that you're addicted to, i.e. weed, you have to look at every other thing that you're addicted to. If you're addicted to weed and you're quitting, and you start eating sugar, and you're addicted to sugar, let's say, and you know that you shouldn't eat it, it's exactly the same to your mind. It's reducing your willpower, reducing your self-confidence, reducing your self-efficacy. You don't believe that you can do it anymore because you've broken, you know? So, also you're going to have a lot more time. You're going to have a lot more time. So, after watching the videos, start reading. Our society's been converted to media, and it's messed up because it's purely a method of control. It's either keeping us away from advancing, or it's keeping us dumbed down enough to use. You know, there's those two sides of the media. They don't want us to rise up, and they want us to be fearfully working, never getting anywhere. So start reading, you know, and if something, you know, like, if whatever particular book isn't interesting, find an interesting one. I have this particular book by Terence McKenna, very interesting. It's about psychedelic mushrooms, and it's about fruits and vegetables and how they're kind of like the gods of our planet, and, you know, they're the matter with which our bodies were made. It's very, very interesting. I have another book, The Seventh Sense, which is also interesting. There's a lot of good skill-building books. For example, a particular book that I highly recommend, especially for addiction, is Leadership and Self-Deception. Amazing book. It talks about how, and this is the most important thing to quitting a substance, any substance or anything that you're addicted to. Self-betrayal. there's this voice in our minds, and most of us do the opposite of what it says, or don't listen. And what it is that it tells us something that we're sure of. You should do this, or you should not do that. And typically, we go against this voice. And, let's say it's, you get a bit angry because you came home from work, and your girlfriend asks you a question, and, you snap at her. Or, in a split second, you're about to snap at her, and you feel the anger rising up in you, and you remember this, and you say, it would be wrong to snap at her right now, or I should take a breath and relax. And if you don't do that, if you betray yourself, you will immediately make justifications that convince you that what you did was the right thing to do. And of course, this is a slippery compounding slope where you snap at your girlfriend, you yell at your kid, you cut someone off on the highway, and before you know it, you're doing quite heinous things. So basically, the concept of this, if we can flip it around, every time your brain presents you with something positive that you should do, it's usually going to be something you don't want to do, or that's difficult, or kind of stresses you out, or you're kind of afraid of. But if you do that thing, it will change your brain. It will prove to you that you can do things that are right, that your brain presents yourself with. It can prove to you that you can do what you believe in. It can prove to you that you can quit weed. It can prove to you that you can accomplish anything. And what it's going to do is it's going to better the relationships in your life. It's going to make you more of a leader. It's going to make you more sensitive. It's going to make you a better person. So all you have to do is follow what you know is right. It sounds simple, right? It's simple, but it's not easy. So, guys, I think that's enough for today. Hopefully I'll get back to you guys tomorrow, if not on day 6. And I strongly believe, I have faith in myself. I don't hope that I can quit. I'm past hoping. Hope is a form of hopelessness because it implies that there's an element of chance in the whole scenario. And if you really think about hope, it implies that you don't believe it's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. I have faith in myself, in the universe right now. It's going to happen. It's happening. It's happened. I've already quit weed. There's no quitting going on. I've quit. All I have to do is not start again. And in the past, I've felt like, oh, maybe I'll do it just today for creativity, or, just because I'm hanging out with my friends again, or whatever, And then I smoke once, or I get some weed, and it's the ultimate mistake, because I'm right back to the start, and 6 months later, here I am. So, in addition to that, you kind of have to get new friends, and that's really difficult. It's a lot easier to connect with people sometimes when, you smoke weed or you drink or whatever, If you don't have a problem with alcohol, you could go to the bar, but, don't replace your weed addiction with an alcohol addiction. That's the worst. But what I recommend to you is getting active, taking walks. What I did was I would go out into nature and smoke, and then after I quit, I would still go out into nature, and it would be fulfilling part of that habitual craving, but it's good for me. It's walking, and then I would just walk around more and have more time to do it. And a lot of the time I would take weed so that I could tune into nature and stuff, but I don't know, perhaps the effects have worn off on me, and I can still attune into nature.